Hello everyone, welcome back once again to the 4-Digit Mania World Cup. To end the stream, or rather to end the weekend, I will say, as it is tradition, we saw a very exciting round of 32, and to top it off, we'll see the Mappool showcase of the round of 16. We saw some upsets. Most of the expected matches to go like close were expectedly close, to no surprise. And all that is just past now because new pool, new things, more maps compared to previous stage, and of course more difficulty. And well, I mean, you can see my name right there on top left. I'm Hungry, still commentating this alongside two fellow members of the casting crew, which are kind of regulars already for the showcases. Paturash, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, of course. We've been having the same lineup for all the showcases. I don't know why, but we do actually, and we have a three-man lineup. We've got Sunapple in the booth as well. How are you?
Hello. I am back for a third week, I think. That round 32, honestly, has been one of my favorite round 32s ever. There were so many upsets. I'm hoping round 16 is going to be the same. But, yeah.
We saw interesting matches, right? Peru-Brazil is the first one that comes to mind. We saw as well Japan performing fairly well. France, I think, was playing them, right?
So yeah, France was playing against Japan and got into a tiebreaker, and it was incredibly close. Like 3-digit, 2 breakpoints, 3-digit score difference in a row, and it was pretty interesting. Thank you to the re-streamers as well. The Russian restreamers especially.
Yeah, there's a lot of work being put behind the scenes for your enjoyment, viewers and players. And well, I mean, next up, as you can see top right, is the round 16 Mappool showcase, which is hopefully something both viewers and especially players are looking for. I see some questions in the chat about how harder this will be, and as much as I want to answer that question, I think it's only fair to show you instead. So how about we get into Rise number 1?
Without further ado, we are going into Neo City Dive. And the first revision of this map was very, I want to say court-jacky, but Danny also helped on this map, helped add a little bit of a dump element to this map. So this map is the closest thing you're going to get to a court-jack pick. But it's not entirely court-jack, it's a little bit dumpy.
Yep, as it is tradition as well, Rise 1 intended to be the easier pick, quote-unquote. Like, it is a court-jack map, so it is inherently, like, unique. So it's hard to judge if it is way easier or not. But in theory, physicality requirement for this map isn't too high. You have, you know, the classic dumpy, streamy, jump streamy oriented scheme, I think, and you have, you know, the classic court-jack transitions. Overall, pretty fun map to play, very flowy, and 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Thanks, Red, for the custom map.
Yeah, I do want to add that we did see 2 Blue Archive picks in last pool in SV. But this time we're actually going to see it in Rise 1, and as you did say, this is going to be the easier map. I think this is probably the simplest map in the pool. It's mostly core jacks with a bit of jump stream later on that we'll see. I definitely think this is going to be the biggest hack battle that players are going to have to really focus on. You're going to have to be as precise as possible, get that offset correct from anything, and really just hone in on your ability.
Yeah, and that is emphasized by the OD 8.5. So I think the best, the teams that shine the best in terms of ratio are gonna want to protect this one, or maybe consider protecting this one at least.
Yeah, but it's also a map that I can see many teams being able to perform quite well on it. So protecting is certainly something that you want to do if you have very sharp shooting accuracy, but otherwise I will say this is a dangerous pick. I think it's a map that is going to be, for the most part, fairly avoided. But hey, that's it for Rise 1. Let's move on to what we consider, I guess, the medium difficulty of the pool, at least in the Rise department. And we have Show Me Your Love, another custom map. And guys, get used to this. This is for the
40M.
Yeah.
40M. Yeah, I guess to go a bit more into this, it's a really awkward map in my opinion. I felt that there was a bit of hand bias, not like the too much. You definitely see both hands being used a lot. So mirror can be pretty good on this map if you aren't too comfortable on some of the patterns on one of your hands.
Yeah, you talk about hand bias, but I think there's more of an interaction. Like Danny PX, in terms of technical maps, really likes to employ one-handed gimmicks. So you see a lot of one-handed coordination required, and you see that the snaps in those dumps is pretty spread out. So if you rush those, you are gonna get some 200s, and I had a lot of trouble sustaining good accuracy on this one. Like one day I would get the 991K, and the other day I would get the 984K because I would rush the patterns.
Yeah, controlling the patterns here are, I think, the most challenging aspects of this map. Like, the patterns are rougher than what they look. It flows fairly well considering the way the music plays out. But there's a lot of treely motions, and you need great technique really to control the ratio specifically of this. As Pat was saying, a map that is easily rushable, easily you can drop a lot of accuracy on pretty much any of the mainstream sections, because again we go from a flowish core jacky map into more not necessarily like FFR core technical side of things, but more like a technical that involves more finesse, like maybe finger control and independency, and this mini jacks of course certainly help out towards that objective.
Yeah, the next section that is coming up right now is going to be the hardest, in my opinion, in the entire map. And that is the most chokeable by far, because there's a lot of, as I mentioned, one-handed coordination, especially in terms of rigidity and mini-jacky transitions.
Yeah, I do want to say, playing through this map, I kind of felt like, I guess this is, I kind of felt like it was a bit of a speed map. Except unlike in normal speed maps, there are so many just embedded mini jacks all over the place. So it's really awkward to play, and also like really hard to transition into these patterns normally.
Yeah, the broken-ish jump stream, if you want to call it that way, or the broken streams really makes this so much harder to control in terms of accuracy, because you can't just go all out at the same speed all the time due to the breaks in between. So watch out with this one. I think this is a map we'll see being decided at the end a fair bit, considering how it is a bit backloaded and the amount of control you require.
And we go into Rise number 3, another custom map. You heard it. And this time it's going to be coming from none other than Elixir. So you know Elixir by a lot of different styles of mapping. Especially hybrid, of the technical variety. This time it's going to be rice, and Elixir has a lot of, I guess, rice dumps, but kind of in a more bursty way. Some of you might be familiar with, for example, Radiant from Cohen Sound. This is kind of similar. City Lights, I think City Lights is the title, yeah. And this is also going to be somewhat similar to the previous picks, but in a different way. I think it plays burstier, and it's not as punishing if you rush the patterns. I think.
Yeah, I think you don't require as much control on this, because you kind of need mini jack control, more like snap or stream control here, because you have to go back and forth between left and right hand and the mini jacks a fair amount of times. And you have very fast, unexpected bursty patterns that are very challenging to do. So it's really a matter of, can you swap from going through controlling mini jacks to control speed? And that's what really differentiates this map compared to the previous ones we saw before. But on the one that we had before, it was mostly about controlling different speeds, or like breaking the pattern every now and then. Here the speed is a bit more constant, but the pattern changes a fair more.
Yeah, and I kind of want to add to that with the speed really being constant, and I think that adds like a layer of simplicity, kinda. So this may be a bit easier, in my opinion, than Rice 2 that we saw just now. But the thing is, I feel like it being easier means that more people are going to be able to play it, and there's going to be less chokes, so it's going to be even more detrimental if you do take a break on this. And it's very possible, especially in this last section where it just like is throwing everything at you.
Yeah, I do want to add that while Senapil mentioned Rice number 2 being potentially awkward, and I mentioned it being quite one-handed in terms of gimmicks, Rice 3 I think is more balanced and I think flows better, at least in terms of playability. So this is also going to have to be something that players have to figure out in training.
So to get into what I believe is the last Rice medium map that we have for the pool, we jump straight into wait for it, Rice number
Waiting.
4. Dum dum.
Long
Drum
intro.
roll.
Here
There we go. Mate un bonito Jorge mesmo. So yeah, this is not a custom map. It's the first non-custom that we have on the pool. And
Okay,
it has
so-
some amount of villains, and good luck with the 100 trail.
I want to talk about this map because it's the closest thing you're gonna get to a jump stream pick. Strangely enough. But this is the weirdest light jump stream pick you're gonna get. You see those repetitive patterns? This is kind of weird.
I definitely agree. This is definitely very much jump streaming. I think it's really funny that you put it that way. In my opinion, this is probably going to be the easiest map to FC. But if you've played any disguise maps, you'll know that they're insanely difficult to get really good accuracy on. Because
just that.
they're
Mind
so
block.
Yeah, and they're so easy to mind block. We see this pattern like being repeated constantly. So something that you're going to need to play is just like that kind of rhythm.
The one-handed nature of this shot makes it so hard to act. There's a lot of anchors you have to take care of, and eventually you also have these rolls that are very, very fast. The patterns are anything but linear. They are very, very rigidly structured, and the song just doesn't really stop. It doesn't give you any time to catch up to the rhythm if you get off, and those transitions with the hands, I can see people breaking there if they are just tunnel visioning act through all this chart.
Yeah, I mentioned this as being the quote-unquote gem stream pick, but it doesn't play like an accuracy pick at all. So I think that the performance of the teams in round of 16 is going to be a little bit more, I guess, random. But I do believe
Warning,
that a lot of
very
teams...
red background soon.
Yeah, I do want to say that teams should be able to still get a good score on this. It might be easier to act than the previous hits that are...
I mean, those
more
three
versatile.
note patterns are, like 3-column patterns are so rough to hit properly with accuracy.
Yeah, you kind of just bleed
Flashbang.
out regular 300s.
There you
go. But with
Moving
that
on to
being
Rice 5 really
said-
quickly.
Rice 5.
Oh my god, my eyes.
Hey yo, so we're
My-
entering into another red map.
It's another red map, but since it's such a good map, I picked this for the French nationals, and I picked this essentially like 5 days after it was released for the French nationals at 1.05. This is going to be at 1.0, and this is going to be a cut version of the ranked version. Thank you, Mixie guys. But yeah, this map is so good. It's like the closest you'll get to pure tech, but it's not pure tech per se.
I mean, the patterns are long. I think that's the main problem here. Like, can you keep up with techie long patterns, really? That's the main test of difficulty for this map specifically. You have long jacks that are not necessarily like insanely long, but really drags on and makes the pattern hard to hit. It's one of those things that you have to enter at the right time. If you drag at the start of a pattern, you're going to drop an immense amount of accuracy, and if you start rushing the pattern, then you will drop a lot of accuracy, potentially also combo. So very tricky map. You need to be going with like as close to perfect accuracy as you can if you want to hit this properly. And the patterns are also no joke. Density peaks up a fair amount compared to the previous Rise maps, as this is considered the hardest map of the Rise pool, at least it's intended to be.
Yeah, I do want to add more onto that kind of long jacky or anchory. It's really hard to transition between these long jacks into the bird to GDC every so often. And I think that's going to be a really big choke point, and how often it happens, it's going to be like very, very difficult to be able to stay consistent throughout the entire map, especially it being 2 minutes 30 seconds of basically just this the entire time until, I guess, now. People, you may want to prioritize, I guess, getting an FC over really good AC at this point.
It's the kind of map that if you're going just for combo, you can cheese some of the patterns, but that's gonna punish your accuracy a lot.
Yeah, this is especially hard to get good accuracy on because the snaps are like all over the place and it is very, very bursty. And also in terms of combo, it is very... I think it is probably the hardest to maintain combo on because there are so many things going on.
Yeah, it drags on the stamina department as well, so lower city teams will likely have trouble with this. Hey, another red flashbang. But now into what we call a hybrid, quote unquote. We are not sure. This is a hybrid 1, as we're about to see. This is intended to be our Rise-oriented hybrid, which is a popular map already. I think Sylvia has been used on Mania World Cup before, map at Asselville. And it's the Rise-focused hybrid. We were very, very close to label this as Rise 6 and have it be a Rise map with LNs in the middle. But instead we decided to go, well, we're going to have Hybrid 1, which is, you know, the Rise, very Rise-focused hybrid, which is essentially just a Rise map with a lens in the middle. And we're going to have Hybrid 4, which is the exact opposite. It's just an LM map with some Rise in the middle. So, yeah. Enjoy. I think this map is, though, a bit on the easiest side, but it compensates a bit with its length. It's 4 minutes long, one of the longest maps in the pool. So, very tricky. Some of the release timings here can be very challenging, especially, well, it's OD7, so it's not that tricky, but considering how you have to swap from bursty patterns into some LNs, that can be pretty challenging.
Yeah, there's a lot of transitional difficulty to this. Well, I want to say, I wouldn't say transitional difficulty, but it is lighter in my opinion than some of the other maps that you've seen in the Rise pool. But as this is 4 minutes and 3 seconds long, well, more like 3 minutes and some in terms of drain time. This is, I think, easier to act just due to the virtue of the snap being a lot more simpler, but it still goes fast.
It goes fairly fast, really. I find myself dropping combo a fair amount on this, but mostly because it has this broken nature as well, right? You have to go back and forth between, okay, I have to go very fast and I have a break in the middle with jacks, and that transition specifically to me I find pretty tricky to do. So it's a map I have good accuracy, but I tend to break often. And considering how long it is, breaks are just, you know, more likely to happen. Consistencies are a thing, and I think your stamina could drain a bit. If your hand positioning is not like optimal to play this kind of patterns, you can drain a lot more stamina than you should.
Yeah, I also do want to say that this map, most of the in-between sections, in between the courses, there's a lot of LN. As we're seeing right now, it's kind of scattered throughout everything, so I think during the key eyes, you will most likely just be focusing on your Rise ability, but you definitely can't, like, scoff over your LN ability in between those sections, which I think there are 2 major Rise sections, and we're going to see the next one coming up right now.
Yeah, it is essentially first and second KI are the most challenging Rise sections, and mostly because of how it flows, really. It has a very unique way to flow through it. And that can be, you know, challenging to players that are not used to play this sort of unconventional follow-up. And this one has some eventual mini jacks, and I think the density also picks up a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, Azuba, also known as Contino, is a one-of-a-kind mapper, really, in terms of technical. And I want to say, like, Sylvia is definitely one, if not the best map from the repertoire.
There are many good maps that were made, but this one definitely one of the highlights.
Yeah, and also I do want to say I believe this is ranked, so if by chance you're able to see your opponent's scores on this, do take advantage of that. I think there are some extensions that let you see through player scores. So keep this in mind whenever you're looking at player scores.
I will say this plays so much easier on 4v1, so take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, the elements do add kind of a dimension to accuracy in a tournament situation in a way that Score V1 doesn't really reflect here.
All right.
Hybrid 2 now, the fewer hybrids, right? You take it.
Yes. I do want to say a shout out to Puni Puni Deki. I really like this artist a lot. They're really fun to listen to for me. But this map is definitely probably one of my favorites in the entire hybrid pool. There's a lot of really tricky mini jacks, and we're already seeing those right now. But they just get even harder later on because you have to kind of play those mini jacks on the same hand that you're starting a LN.
This is Steve Pasolite? What?
Yeah, this is T-Fazolite. I was really
Steve
surprised as well. This doesn't sound like T-Fazolite. This is so chill, and I really like this song actually.
Shout outs to JP News. JP News? I'm not sure how to pronounce the name, but
JP.
you posted us them up. JP News.
Yeah, I do think this map is probably one of the most choky maps that in hybrid, mostly because of those higher mini jacks that we are seeing. You see them right now. It's kind of you're holding an LN and then you gotta get the mini jacks with your other finger on the same hand, and it's just so difficult to be able to coordinate correctly, consistently, and with the amount of times that it happens, there's so many places where you can just choke.
Yeah,
it's not
I think
just that. I think the fact that you need to constantly be wary about, the release timings, because if you just have the mini jack, then just sure, but the release timings tend to go like all over the place for the most part, so you can't really focus too much on the mini jack, else you're gonna drop 200s on the releases. So it's very like pure hybrid nature, I think, in this case.
Yeah, I think the technicality is both on the front end of things, the rise, graces, and so on, and on the tail end of things, with the releases timing and so on. And also be on the lookout of for those short long notes as well. They might bite you if you're not careful enough.
Another custom map as well. It's always nice to see these many customs.
Yeah, for many different maps as well. I haven't seen a lot of continuous maps before.
Yeah, I feel like there are so many I guess, not as well-known mappers that we haven't seen make customs, and it's really interesting because we see different ideas in terms of songs, and like this one, honestly, I don't think I've seen many maps that kind of have this idea. But with that being said, I think we can go on to Hybrid 3, right?
So we go from chill to chillant, because we have Buna Synergy here, hybrid number 3, and it's a 1.1 rate as well. So yeah, we go from something very chill to like electronic music, electronic rather, rhythm game music.
First rate of the tournament, by the way.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, I would say this is probably one of your more traditional hybrids that most people are honestly kind of used to. This was used in a few tournaments in the past. Probably smaller ones, but something to say is kind of these shields are a bit difficult. A lot of the LN can cause problems just because it's kind of hard to release on time.
And to the most part, this is the kind of map that you're like 50-50-ish maps that don't really have like anything specifically that can catch you off guard. Like you don't have very heavy coordination mini jacks, you don't have like insane transitions. Yeah, you have some sort of inverse-ish patterns, and you also obviously have some mini jacks as you can see here. But it's not like the main thing of the map. Like mostly the map is about what can you hold on to through a map that transitions between LNs and rise and just has rise in between the LNs and LNs in between the rise. Fairly straightforward. Check to see if you're well versed to just accuracy in average LNs and accuracy in average rise patterns.
Yeah, in my experience, this played like a ranked map for us, but it is at 1.1 and it is fairly physical. So this is most likely the most physical of the hybrids. And yeah, I don't think Sylvia is even as physical because this kind of tends to be heavy on the density type of things in terms of firing.
Definitely. I agree with that statement. The density definitely is the main challenge, I think, for this map. If you can hold dense patterns, then you should mostly be fine. Into the last hybrid. Oops, I messed up my push dot key. But anyways, to the last hybrid here, which is not really a hybrid like we said. This is more like an LN map with some rise elements added to it. We have Beast Bass Bomb. Another map by Mystic Eyes.
Second map of Mystic Eyes here in the school, and this is quite different from Pilot Lab. You'll see in a second what I mean. And this is very funny, like one-handed coordination, left and right, literally. It plays like inverse, but one-handed inverse, which is very funny.
Yeah, you know, to all people, we call that the interlighter pattern. Like, that's what they used to do in maps were like just starting to become a thing. And this is just classic Mystic Eyes thing. This sort of 3-column-ish LN with the other column being mostly rise. That's just classic Mystic Eye stuff. And as we were claiming, this is a hybrid that is just really an LN pick with rise rather than a hybrid per se. As we did say the same with hybrid 1, but it's the other way around.
Yeah, I do want to say that it can be honestly a bit easy to autopilot if you're pretty good at LN this map, but definitely as it gets later on, you will really want to like stay as focused as possible since it can be easy to like hold on to one of the LNs for too long with these LN anchors like constantly.
It is just so rigid to play though for the most part. You really need to either understand the pattern fairly well to just play it by visual, or, you know, really be used to this kind of style, really. Because I don't think it's something you can read off of RL capacity for the most part, because the rise is just so intrusive.
The silver lining for this pick is that it's almost entirely 1/4, so this might be one of the easiest hybrids to get good accuracy on, if you're good at the lens days.
But you're gonna choke so much, though. I expect this to be like one of the most missed maps. Like, I expect this to be one of the maps that has the least amount of FCs.
Interesting.
Let's go to the long node, so the actual long node, so into what we say is long node easy, like the less physically demanding, if you will, and overall less, not necessarily challenging, but something that is at least intended to be one step below the rest. And we have Ameno Hoakari by Ravi. And overall, I mean, this is just the classic all-rounder LN map that isn't really fast. And I think this has been used a fair amount as well. It's a fairly popular map, at least to me.
Yeah, this is an old classic, and this is an edit, by the way, because if you're familiar with this map, you'll be familiar with the triple jacks. We removed the triple jacks.
Aw, that's a bit sad. Yeah, I would definitely say that this is by far like the easiest map in the pool, in my opinion. I am an on player though, so it definitely makes sense. I feel like it's kind of simple to be able to get decent AC on this, so if you're doing really well in last pool, you'll probably be doing very similar here, especially considering I feel like the difficulty is around the same, maybe slightly increased from the medium maps in last pool though.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, like, I think I had the best score on LNs on this one, and the snaps do lend themselves to get good accuracy on, but the coordination aspects of this really sets this as, do you know how to handle early game, kind of slowish LNs? And if you do, then you'll get some good 990Ks, maybe even 995Ks, depending on the team lineups you have. Do keep in mind that you need 3 players who are able to get good accuracy on, and it has to be better than your opponent's team. But yeah, see how we edited out the triple jack that were in the later half. Should be manageable for a lot of people.
Such a flowy map though, otherwise. If you take out the mini jacks, it's just such a flowy map. I expect good scores coming from many teams in this map. If anything, this may be one of the maps that gets protected a fair bit because it's risky unless you have like this outstanding LN accuracy. So we shall see. Into LN2 now, into the medium category. So this is like the average difficulty. We have a custom map by Anatharax, and let me tell you something, this map is fantastic. String theocracy. I mean, I don't really have words to express how much I like this map. It's release jam for the most part, but it flows so well. Like everything on it feels like it makes perfect sense. And the gaps may be a bit too short for some players, but this maps to me makes so much sense that I didn't even notice the gaps were that small.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I definitely do want to say this map is going to be very difficult to be able to get good act on. You did say about the snap being very small, and I think that isn't really the biggest problem for me. A lot of the problems was the releases being really, really awkward sometimes, and how dense it is to with the amount of like releases happening. You constantly see things like being released at different snaps at different intervals. It's insane.
Yeah, I want to add on to that by saying this kind of plays like a hybrid, but a hybrid that has a lot of releases. So it is kind of a release-oriented wildcard in a conventional tournament parlance, I would say. I also helped time this map. Yeah, it's swing, and the swing is the main component of this flow. And I helped time this map, and this has kind of a lot of CPM changes, so this might also enter into account in terms of getting good accuracy on this one. But yeah, I think this is like probably my favorite map in the pool.
I agree, definitely. I had a lot of fun practicing this, and I will say it definitely takes a bit of practice to be able to, I guess, understand some of the releases in certain sections, especially this later half, where everything kind of just is even harder than what it already was at the start, just because everything just increases in intensity.
There's also a fair step up compared to previous stage LNs, so watch out. Because it is so flowy, it will probably be fine for most teams, but the density and speed is no joke. Like, it's a fair increase compared to previous stage.
Yeah, I think the teams, in terms of strategy, are either gonna go for a combo but drop a lot of 200s, or focus on accuracy and risk a choke here and there because of the flow that is very, very tight.
Time for LN number 3. We went from the release chassis oriented map to straight up density. So please. Yeah, that's the end of the phrase. That's the name of the map. Please is. What's the song? You know what I mean.
Please.
Please. But yeah, this is just your classic density map, really. It just goes on and on and on, and it doesn't really stop at any point. It has some release difficulty attached to it because despite the fact that it's fairly dense, you have some awkward release times every now and then.
Yeah, I think compared to the quote-unquote density from Ballistic in round 32, this is much more, I want to say, physical and less release demanding, because the faster you go in terms of density, the easier it's going to be in terms of releases. And here you start to see what I mean by that.
I do want to say, whenever I was playing this map, I personally didn't really focus all that much on the short, longer notes. Instead, really the difficulty for me was, I guess, some of the longer ones, the ones that were like,
Yeah.
1/4, 1/6, I don't know. Whatever the longer ones are, I'm not a master, sorry.
I see what you
on
mean.
those.
They get extended for a little bit more than what you would expect instead of going for the classic stationary timing, and that it's pretty hard to control, especially with the BPM is low like this.
Yes, the density part of the patterning you can see right here. Some of the long notes do extend to more than just one beat, and that is going to be one of the main components of this very backloaded pick, actually, in my experience.
Very short as well, 138. So nice and fast. I expect this map to be very, very close every time it gets spit. But now into the last LN map on the medium difficulty or category, we have Beatrice, and another map that is just glorious. I love this map as well. Map by Alexia. I believe this is a collab. I may be wrong.
Yeah, this is a collab between Exire and Anothrax, also known as her LN mapper. So, kind of one. This is the second quote-unquote 1.5th. I don't know how you say that map from Anothrax. But yeah, this is kind of classic side, kind of more jazzy side, so to speak. And this is more of a classic wild card, I want to say. Whereas String Theocracy provided some releasey wildcard that was pretty unconventional because of the swing element. This is a little bit more, I don't want to say closer to what Alexander provides in terms of wildcard jazz.
This is dangerously close to what I will say enters not the hybrid territory, but the Rise can certainly play some parts in this particular map. Not because the Rise is particularly difficult, but the reverse shields that it generates can, at least in my opinion, be somewhat harder to read when they are not just full long nose and they have like, you know, this Rise hats to the LNs, I like to call them. Some skins specifically as well may have trouble reading that.
Yeah, the reverse shields on this map are definitely brutal to be able to play, especially having to play the LN around it sometimes. It can be very hard to be able to get really good accuracy on. Staying consistent, staying on time with this kind of jazz is, in general, very, very difficult. And it's just even more harder with that.
And that's the trilogy, or rather the trio of LN medium difficulty. We jump straight into long no hard. So it is time, as they are saying in the chat, for another classic. You could call this a release-oriented pick, and I would disagree to some degree, but you could also make a case that it is.
Yeah, this is also the first VTuber pick, Scars of Sarascona by Nakamata Master, and this is the second map from Prevail. And I want to say this is kind of density-oriented for a Revel map, but this has also sort of a wildcard element to it, but it kind of completes the map in a way. The Mappool, I mean, in a way.
I will say, in my opinion, I feel like this was the funniest pick whenever I saw it. I think this has been in this map for a while, or at least in the pool in general for a while. I think if, as everybody knows, this map, it's Scars upon it. The intro honestly isn't all that bad. It's mainly based off that ending. We will see it later, but there's definitely a lot of places where you can kind of trip up, get a bunch of 200s. Playing this on B2 is way, way harder than on B1, so keep this in mind.
This is love. I completely forgot about that.
Yep. You have this tricky two-note extended long nose in quad, then the others having different release times are very, very hard to pack properly. But it has like a little bit of everything. You have to transition burst into very dense patterns and sort of even inverse to some degree, so a pretty complete map.
Yeah, I mentioned it being kind of density oriented for a Revel map, but Revel doesn't really map density, so you kind of get a bit of everything as a result. So yeah, that is pretty as a description.
Yeah, and I believe the section is coming up with the mini jags, and it's honestly very, very hard to be able to play correctly. There we go. I personally find
That
myself missing
ending.
on that every single time, basically.
No, I love that ending. It's so chill.
Chill. Okay,
Yeah.
man.
I'm sorry. I used to be very good at this map. I just want to flex.
Oh my god. One with the nostalgia map pulling, literally, but we are gonna go into something that is not quite nostalgic, and that is the SV pool.
Oh my god, we have such a good surprise. Not for this one, but for the next SV map. We have Nervousness here by Promachos. So, no Blue Arcade this time.
Yeah, Promachos has been kind of a rising name, not only in terms of SV, but also in terms of storyboarding. But we are not gonna have storyboards in 4EM, unfortunately. Well, maybe except for cosmetic purposes and or some maps, I guess. But Nervousness was first slated for Rhino 32, but then it was buffed in a substantial way. Substantial enough to go into Rhino 16. And you'll see the difficulty of Rhino 16 is not what you'd expect from regular Rhino 16, for example, from NWC or maybe even previous at NWC. This is denormalized, and you really have to be patient on these long notes. And I know a lot of you did not like the long notes on the Usagi Flap. It kind of did end Usagi
Oh, we are
Flap. I'm
sorry for you.
Yeah. It kind of Usagi flopped, I'm sorry, but yeah.
You just
So
got a Usagi
it's
flap.
that.
Yep.
But yeah, it is pretty reading oriented in a way, but there is also a fair amount of memorization involved in nervousness, and nervousness is gonna be pretty much the name of the game in terms of match dynamic on this one.
The map just feels like the SVs are rigid, but the patterns really aren't. So it's so tricky to hit properly. You really need to understand the pattern rather than the gimmick, I think, to play this map properly. Because it really isn't much challenging at all once you know the patterns right. And you have some ways to telegraph how the SV works. I'll let you guys figure that out, but I feel this is a map that if you give it a couple shots and you build your own way to, understand how to anticipate the pattern, then it gets so much easier so quickly. But into the next one, the next one is gonna be very fun because it's Daisy
yeah.
Cutter.
Yeah, it's gonna be like the I wanna say 7th or 8th time that Daisy Cutter has been taken to a tournament, but this is gonna be SV.
Let it cook
This is
though.
a very
cook, though.
unique map.
Let it cook. There it is. You should all know this video, by the way.
Was it?
Yes, same.
Everyone knows Daisy Cutter, right?
I know, right?
So I want to
Classic
say
jam.
like song choice. A song choice has a big element to SVs because if you know the song by heart, and I expect
do.
a lot of people know Daisy Cutter from start to end already. This is gonna be shortening your training time by a lot, because if you know how the song goes, then you know how the SV goes. If the map makes sense to you, that is. There's a lot of denormalization that Clarence employed, especially in those break sections. Lots of traps, but
there's a
if you know
lot
the
of
song,
Yeah, but-
there's a lot of traps, but if you know the song, you know where the traps are.
And the ending is a bit challenging when it comes to the patterning itself, but I feel the SVs are way easier to understand and telegraph. It's mostly just, gallop one fourth, and at some point you have this sort of 5-note jump stream-ish pattern that can be tricky to hit right, especially if you struggle reading like big areas when the SVs are slow enough. But otherwise, the map, I think the second half is mostly chill. It's just, being able to hit dense pattern with the SVs. The first section is mostly about memorizing and understanding the gimmick. And then this is something you can probably cycle.
Yeah, the second half is reading based and normalized because there's a lot of syncopated rhythms, and if we put some denormalization, the difficulty would just shoot up.
And well, that will be it for the pool. We're only missing a single one, which is the classic tiebreaker. And again, this wasn't really our plan or our intention initially, but yeah, let's just say that instead of going, the classic way of saving the best for last, we kind of have the best for the early. I know I'm not necessarily sure it's like the best of anything because, like, I don't know, we have a custom song around 32, and it's hard to keep up with that. Like, but this artist just reached out to us, an artist that we love a fair bit, and maybe you have seen them, featured before in the tournament, perhaps in different ways. That yeah, they just came up with a custom song again. So yeah, that's great. That's awesome. We have that surprise here, I guess, prepared here on the round of 16 for the tiebreaker. So yeah, we're not gonna be talking, the classic when you have a custom song release. So enjoy it all. This is the tiebreaker for the round of 16.
Yay!
Bye.
I hope you all enjoyed the tiebreaker song by Silis, also known as Ravely. Very good replay, by the way, million score. That's not something you get to see very often. Of course, thanks a lot as well to Polly for the amazing graphics for the whole tournament that she helped with, and specifically this video as well. Very, very nice. I do not really know how to, give enough credit to all this, because it really all comes through hard work, really. Like, this is something that just what I found the most immensely amazing about all this, this couple custom songs that we have for tiebreaker so far, is that it's not like we went and searched for it. They just kind of came to us offering this, and that to me means a lot, really, because that's what I feel 4DM should be, and what just OS in general is, this sort of community thing that we all want to make together and grow together, and producing things like this that really look like amazing, incredible in all degrees. Just a song that has been purposely made for this, with a video that has been specifically crafted for this, with mappers working hard on it, and I don't know, it's a very nice and enjoyable community effort, and I'm very, very happy with not just the result, but everything really that comes around by 4DM and just this community in general as a whole.
Yeah,
So-
as someone who has been part of this of a past team tournament as well, like 4DM 4, 3. I don't remember which ones I was I was part of, but I was definitely part of some teams there, and I want to say I had a huge blast participating in the community effort with my teammates and with the entire community. And we also want to provide us as staff a prime experience for all the players, the spectators, and everyone involved, basically, with high quality content.
Yeah,
Yep.
I don't really have much to say. I definitely think this tiebreaker is very, very cool. I think everybody worked really hard, and really shout out to Silas. Is that how you say it? I never actually figured it out. But shout out to them, and Polly, obviously.
Of course, Samitsu and Rublazing for working, as mappers for it.
Yeah, good.
Everyone involved. And just the whole 4DM team. Let's just shout them all, really, as they are putting a lot of time and effort to making the tournament as it is.
Yeah,
And,
everyone say good night, Polly.
Yeah,
Good
good night, Paul.
Polly.
But hey, we're not done yet. We still have one more thing to show you all, guys, because the bracket. We need to see how the bracket is looking now, because as the round of 32 concluded, we jump straight into the round of 16. Here we have the winners bracket matchups. So Vietnam's going to be facing Japan, China's going to be facing Indonesia. So,
That's
top
an interesting
Asian side of the bracket. Yeah, very interesting. On the bottom side of that same bracket, we have the US against Peru, so an American battle, and then we have Philippines versus Italy on the other side. So another set of crazy matchup, I think. Both of the teams there winning on sweeps, but they're going to be facing equal strong opponents. And on the right side, of course, Malaysia against the Germans, who provided a very interesting, I think the most one-sided upsets we have seen so far, or rather just period in the tournament. Only Hong Kong maybe coming close there, beating the Russians here. And as well, Sweden, Canada. It's going to be the other matchup as well there on the top right side of the bracket. Very interesting one as well. Sweden, the rising top seeds against the well-known Canadians, who are very solid at balance and rise and just pretty much everything. And to finish up the bracket on the bottom side, we have Taiwan against Hong Kong. Quite the matchup as well. I think we've seen this a fair amount of times in the past. Hong Kong, of course, looking to produce another upset after beating Mexico here. And Taiwan shining as we expected them to, being, I think the most surprising team out of nowhere, coming here with one of the greatest seeds of the tournament. And the last matchup, but not least, Thailand versus the United Kingdom, another match we are very well used to see. That's going to be it for, the top side of the bracket, the winners bracket. And in the losers ground, remember, anyone who loses a match here will be immediately eliminated of the tournament. They only have to play once. So we have France against Czechia and Slovakia together here. They will be facing for a spot in the losers quarterfinals here. The loser will get eliminated, as well as Colombia and Netherlands, both providing interesting matches on the winners bracket here. Unfortunately, not quite good enough to beat and get the upset here, but definitely a match I'm very excited to see next weekend. Brazil and Spain, another one that's promising. Brazil very, very close to get the upset there against Peru. Not quite good enough, unfortunately, for them, but they have a rising opponent here on Spain, and hopefully going to be an exciting one. Singapore against Chile, a match that we maybe used to see on later stages, but this time happening straight in the round of 16 losers bracket of all things. We're going to see one of these two teams getting eliminated this early on, and that's shocking. Poland versus Russia, another one that we've seen, I think, mostly in the past. I'm not sure if we've seen this as often lately, considering that I don't think the two teams have had like very, very strong teams before, like recently rather. But yeah, it's a matchup I'm excited to see. It's always nice to see two European teams face against each other. Of course, Argentina against South Korea. We are, the classic Argentinian luck. We get to play the great side of South Korea here, although not looking like too solid on the winners bracket. To see if they can strike a comeback here against the South American, my country, of course. Mexico and Australia facing each other as well on the losers bracket here. Potassium F, captain of Australia, looking to get his team into the losers quarterfinals here. And to finish off the bracket, of course, Romania against Ireland. And I'm excited to see that match just in general, because I like to see teams that I'm not very used to see. Romania and Ireland, definitely two of the newest teams to arrive into the Romania community scene, and I'm very excited to see how that matchup lines up and unfolds. So that's it for the bracket, really. What do you guys think? What do you think is the highlight of this?
I think one of the highlights of this is that there's a lot of friendly time zone matchups. Like, I only see three. I only see really three matchups where time zones would be an issue in terms of scheduling, and that is Singapore, Chile, Argentina, South Korea, and Mexico, Australia. The rest of them look either same time zone or pretty manageable, like 6 hours give or take.
And to see some classic matches. I am personally somewhat excited to see Colombia against the Netherlands. I think that is an underdog match that not many people are aware of, but I think it's going to be close and very nice to see. At least on the losers bracket, that will be my pick for, most exciting match.
For me, I'm kind of feeling the Singapore Chile. I feel like that was actually going to be pretty interesting. I don't know what it is. It's just like staring at me, and it's first one that I think is going to be good. But for winners, honestly, I'm interested in Hong Kong versus Taiwan, because Hong Kong played really, really well in their match, and I hope that accuracy advantage that they have had, it's going to be able to overpower Taiwan, who is number 2 seed or number 3 seed.
Yeah, I think in round of 32 we saw a lot of upsets, and that might be also due to kind of the novel nature of the map pool. And in round of 16, I think we might also continue to see that sort of thing, because in terms of difficulty, we haven't gotten into the meat of the difficulty. So a lot of teams are going to be nailing some really decent accuracy, especially on the long nodes. So not quite up to qualifiers difficulty yet. So the seeding might not enter into account just yet. So we might see more upsets. Next.
Is this fair to say that like all the winners bracket matches are looking insane? Like I'm just seeing at them, like Sweden, Canada is looking very, very like close. Thailand against the United Kingdom is looking very, very close. Even China against Indonesia, I think it's going to be very, very intense. I don't know. There are a lot of matchups here that I'm very excited to watch. If I had to pick one on the winners bracket, I kind of want to say Sweden against Canada just because I like Sweden a fair bit. But I think China rather against Indonesia will be my pick, I think, for the winners bracket.
Patraj, your turn. You need to choose.
Um, honestly, Sweden Canada. I honestly Sweden Canada is pretty interesting in terms of matchup because both of the teams are pretty polarized in their strengths, and in terms of strategy, um, the map pool provides them enough meat that they can spin this around. Maybe even given the second ban at the third point. Is it at the third point also in this round?
I believe so.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, the added element of strategy in terms of picking and banning might be their win or their loss in terms of matchup, and I think that's also very interesting to notice. Vietnam Japan might not be as one-sided as we think either. I think that the Japanese team, what they provided against the French team, as good as it was in early game, might also be interesting.
Well, everybody, that has been it for the stream today. Oh yeah,
Thank you,
Sweden versus
Danny.
Canada. Thank you, streamers. Thank you, Danny. We have our streamer shouting out, the Sweden versus Canada match. I mean, all eyes are on there, really. I don't want to put much pressure on the lads, but that's a match and a half, I think. Well, yeah, that has been it for the stream today. That was the round of 16 Mappool showcase. Hope you all guys enjoyed it as much as we did working on it. And yeah, I'm expecting some nice matches to unfold on the next weekend stage. Unfortunately, we will start to see the teams dropping out of the tournament as they get eliminated. And that's always kind of sad to see, but that's just the nature of the game, unfortunately. And at the end of the day, there's only one winner. And there's still a long way until then, but we are getting closer. Round of 16 showcase over, and into next week, I expect to see you all. And of course, thank you Patu and Sonapo for joining me this time. It was fun as always.
Yep. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. See y'all next week.
Thanks for watching. See you on the other side.